Our story begins with the arid expanse of the Red Desert. In this barren land where life struggles to take root, a lizard finds itself pursued by a cackle of hyenas, their laughter echoing through the desolation. Before the little critter could meet its end, a whirling blade intervenes, slicing through the air with deadly precision. A young boy, the axe's owner, charges in, flipping the roles of predator and prey. His steps kick up clouds of red dust as he closes the gap with a hunter's determination. With another axe gripped tightly, he lunged forward, a whirlwind of ferocity. The clash of instincts ended with the boy slaying the pack leader, unleashing a bone-chilling howl. The remaining hyenas scattered, tails tucked in fear, their courage shattered. The little lizard, wide-eyed, marvels at the boy's prowess, its tiny heart racing with awe and newfound admiration. Saved from its doom, it decides to trail after him, much to his annoyance. Too small to eat and seemingly useless for hunting, the boy tries to shoo it away, waving his hands and grumbling under his breath. But the lizard persists, undeterred. Frustrated, the boy chastises the creature until it reveals its hidden talent. Breathing fire like a living flamethrower, a spark of defiance lighting up the arid air. Their quarrel is abruptly silenced by a deep rumble from beneath. The stone they chose for a resting spot stir, revealing itself as a slumbering beast. Thus, the unlikely duo flees for their lives, pursued by an enraged earthen rhinoceros, its massive form barreling through the terrain. They scramble through the desert until they reach a cliff. With no time to spare, the boy leaps into the unknown, indifferent to the drop, the wind howling in his ears. Thanks to his unnaturally strong legs, he absorbs the fall with ease, landing with a thud that would have crippled an ordinary person. At the bottom, he encounters a hooded figure seated beneath a withered tree, an aura of mystery surrounding him. Curiosity flickers in his eyes, but the rhino is still on his trail, its enraged bellows growing louder. Gripping his axe, the boy resolves to stand his ground, ready to prove his lineage as a descendant of the Black Dragon. The hooded figure rises with patient grace and lowers his hood, revealing white hair and piercing blue eyes, commanding an air of strength. Bro is literally Griffith from Berserk but with straight hair. The beast locks eyes with the man, and in a breathless moment it turns tail, retreating without a fight. Such is the weight of true aura, an invisible force that needs no weapon. The boy is dumbfounded, his grip on the axe slackening in disbelief. The enigmatic man smiles, asking if the boy is unharmed, his voice calm and soothing, yet carrying an edge of authority. Little did the boy know that this chance meeting would alter his destiny and reshape the fate of the world. Ananta, the young hunter, leads his savior back to his village. The weight of the encounter is still heavy in his thoughts. The villagers, naturally curious, gather to learn about the foreigner, their whispers a mix of wonder and caution. Ananta's sister, however, is more concerned about her brother's disappearance. She scolds him for wandering into mystic territory again, warning of the dangers that lurk there. To make matters worse, he's brought home an odd critter and a mysterious stranger, complicating her worries further. Ananta eagerly introduces the man to his sister, Ashta, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. Suddenly, Ashta's illness strikes, forcing her into a fit of black bile coughing, her strength fading as quickly as it came. Worried, Ananta urges her to rest inside, his voice tinged with guilt and concern. The foreigner is escorted to the elder's home, treated to hearty food and warm hospitality, the villagers showing their gratitude to the man who saved their young hunter. The man, introducing himself as Gyuyo, is welcome to stay as long as he needs, his presence both an enigma and a source of curiosity. Yet the little lizard remains wary of him, its tiny eyes never leaving him, as if sensing something the others cannot. The village head assigns Ananta as Gyuyo's guide during his stay, a duty the boy accepts with pride. When asked what brought him to such a remote and unforgiving land, Gyuyo explains he's an explorer researching the culture and incarnates of different regions. To clarify, he unfurls a map, its edges worn from countless journeys, and shares tales of his travels. From the great empire of the east, through the icy ridges of the north, to the vast forests of the west. Now he braves the treacherous Red Desert, seeking the legend of a special incarnate. The incarnate known as Ajidahaka, a mythical being and one of the first 6 incarnates to receive divine power. Ajidahaka is heralded as the strongest among them. Feared and revered, this legendary black dragon has loomed over history as a symbol of untamed power. Dubbed the evil incarnate, Ajidahaka the black dragon is the object of Gyuyo's quest, a legend waiting to be unraveled. Mr. Gyuyo stayed with Ananta and his sister. He even whipped up a medicine made from boiling Gaillardia to improve her compromised immune system and vitality. One sip of the soup quickly made Ashta feel a lot better. Today, he intends to go down the nearby river to investigate something. Ananta wanted to tag along. Being Mr. Gyuyo's guide, the duo set out for the riverside. Before they departed, Ashta lovingly reminded her little brother to be safe out there and come home in one piece. As the duo left the village, the boy noticed that the grown-ups were shooting poisonous glances at the foreigner. It did not take them too long to reach the expansive river of the Red Desert. While grilling and eating fish that they caught in the river, the boy asked Mr. Guyo if he had made any progress in his research after a week since arriving in the village. Unfortunately, progress is slow. All he had were small fragments of the history of the Black Dragon's descendants. Ananta's ancestors used to suffer constant attacks from outside forces, but thanks to the Black Dragon's help, they were able to hold their ground. The current-day descendants of the Black Dragon, like Ananta, continue the tradition of being warriors worshipping the Aji Dahaka. That's about the extent of what Mr. Guyo knows as of now. For some unknown reason, the adult villagers just keep on refusing to tell him anything more. It's as if they're hiding something. Ananta dismissed Guyo's concern as overthinking. Changing the subject, Mr. Guyo asked why he was still hunting behind his sister's back. Guyo didn't want to say anything, but the kid was getting more and more injuries from his daring escapades lately. Even though Ashta might catch on soon, little bro still wants to keep his side hustle a secret. He doesn't want to make her worry any more than she already is. You see, winter comes quickly in this accursed land. He wants to hunt and stockpile as much food as possible before the cold comes. The siblings grew up without their parents. They both died from a disease while Ananta was just a baby. Since then, Ashta has always been protective of her little brother. Ananta feels guilty that his sister's life had always revolved around taking care of him, even missing her prime marrying age. So, he wants to prepare a dowry for her so she can actually start her own family. Guyo asked if it was difficult, and the boy just smiled and answered that it wasn't. Everything he does is for the only family he has, after all. Enough of depressing family talks. The boy is curious why Guyo's so interested in incarnates in the first place. It's simple, really. He's looking for the treasure of the gods. These treasures are said to be the source of the first 6 incarnates' powers. They are relics that transcend the laws of the world and the understanding of the human mind. If anyone can get their hands on those 6 relics holding the power of deities, they would be reborn and see the world that lies beyond the curtain. Hearing about the treasures, Ananta slipped up and asked Guyo if he was after the village's old scale. After a whole week of nothing, Mr. Guyo just got his first lead, and it came from the kid. Realizing that he messed up, Ananta caved in on the condition that Guyo never tells anyone that he blabbed. Back when they were kids, his sister told him a story that stuck in his mind. While it's true that the Black Dragon chased away the ancestors' enemies, the beast's rage never subsided. He went on a rampage until the entirety of Red Desert turned to ash. To control his fury, the Black Dragon willingly surrendered one of his scales to his followers. With the power source removed, the Black Dragon fell into a deep sleep. His followers built a hidden shrine somewhere in the vast Dragon Valley where the best warriors stand guard to protect the scale from falling into the wrong hands. Before Mr. Guyo can ask Ananta to help in tracking the shrine, the kid draws the line. The sanctity of the shrine forbids any foreign influence from entering the sacred place. Ananta has no problems guiding Mr. Guyo anywhere else, but the Dragon Valley is off limits. The man did not fight him on that, but he asked the kid to accompany him to one more place. By sundown, they reached a cliff where the vastness of the Red Desert and its beauty can be seen the best. Under the light of the setting sun, Mr. Guyo started professing his dream. He longs to find a world beyond the current one, a place that connects to the land of gods. Until he achieves that dream, he will continue his exploration even if he has to scour the whole planet. His journey will never end, even if he has to make everyone else his enemy. Then, Mr. Guyo asked if Ananta had ever made the connection between his ancestry and the legendary incarnate. Guyo explained that there's a high possibility that Asta's sickness is directly related to the Black Dragon's curse. Aji Dahaka is as enigmatic as the rest of the all-powerful incarnates. But what's known is that he's the servant of the evil god in command over curses and death. It's not too far-fetched to think that a creature that serves under such the vilest of gods would one day turn around on the people. Guyo continued by saying that the Black Dragon was simply using Ananta's bloodline to pass on the evil god's curse. The kid's parents died due to an unknown illness, and now his sister is hopelessly suffering. Little did Ananta know he was being gaslit and played by the man's unparalleled silver tongue. Hearing that the death of his parents and his sister's suffering are caused by the Black Dragon pushed him closer to crashing out. Seeing the kid slowly buy into his version of the story, Guyo grinned as though he were a fisherman luring his catch. Guyo pulled out a radiant flower and urged the boy to take it to the treasure in the village's care. Using the flower, the curse of the Black Dragon will finally be lifted, curing his sister from her debilitating sickness. Guyo's practically urging him to break the rule of the village. But Guyo cleared up that he's simply providing Ananta with a choice to take matter into his own hands. No matter how it pans out, the choice will always be up to the kid. Unbeknownst to Ananta, he's slowly being influenced by a biblically accurate angel in human form. Ashta woke up in the middle of the night with her little bro missing. She worries and wonders where the brat could be at such a late hour. Wherever he is, Big Sis prayed that he's safe and he doesn't catch a cold. If you guessed that he's in the Dragon Valley Shrine, you'd be right. The guards posted up in the entrance went on high alert as soon as they saw the figure of the white-haired man walking closer. They warned Gyuyo to stop in his tracks as barging into the shrine is a serious crime. Seeing that the foreigner is not listening, one of the guards charged with his spear. Gyuyo grabbed the spear tip with his bare hands, shocking the guard. His shock turned to numbness as he was knocked out by a roundhouse kick to the back of the head. While the other guards watched, Gyuyo finished the jab with a brutal punch while the opponent was down. With the first obstacle taken care of, Gyuyo asked Ananta to come out of hiding. The boy is still gripping the radiant flower in his hand. This is his first time seeing Mr. Gyuyo's combat prowess. That white boy had no trouble taking out the village's mighty warriors. The duo walked into the shrine, eager to finish what they just started before the sun rose. Even inside the halls of the shrine, the stronger guards did not pose any threat at all. It only took a few minutes for the duo to reach the final room. The radiant flower shone brighter, and Gyuyo started snickering mischievously. He stopped himself from giggling and told Ananta that there was no need to be afraid anymore. Everything is going according to plan after all. In the center of the room, Gyuyo unearthed the contents of a small tomb. Inside is the final treasure of the first 6 incarnates, sealed by runic markings. The one scale that goes the other way is Aji Dahaka's inverted dragon scale. Gyuyo thanked Ananta for guiding and accompanying him up until now. The kid nervously asked if doing all the things they'd done could really help cure his sister. Gyuyo held onto his shoulder and called him a dumbass human. A numbskull so incredibly easy to fool. Ananta's heart dropped to his stomach. It is time to make the boy face the consequences of his foolish choice. Gyuyo grabbed Ananta's hands, holding the radiant flower, and forced it near the inverted dragon scale. The scale and the runic marking reacted violently against the flower. The reaction's power explosively went out of control until it produced a beam of light extending up to the heavens. This beam of light was visible all throughout the Red Desert. It can be seen from the village, worrying Ashta. After the light, then came the rumbling of the earth itself. Under a hidden cavern away from prying eyes, a gigantic dark figure awakens. His eyes flashed open, full of malice and fury, like his 1,000-year nap just got interrupted. Aji Dahaka sensed that someone was diddling his reverse scale and stood up. He opened his strong wings and burst the ground open, sending tremors throughout the desert. With unbelievable speeds, he flew up with only one place in mind. The villagers who were jolted awake by the tremors looked to the skies in horror. Their god, the subject of their fear and veneration, the Black Dragon, has shown himself after a long slumber. On the way to his shrine, Aji Dahaka wonders just what fool dares to cover the power of the gods. The entire shrine that stood tall for generations had been reduced to rubble. Our sweet summer child, Ananta, is lying face down on the debris, both of his arms cut off by the beam of light. When he woke up, he was so mesmerized by the sight of Mr. Gyuyo standing in front of the light that he didn't even feel the pain of his limbs being severed. The radiant flower has turned into something else, something more primal and powerful. Mr. Gyuyo clenched its long and hard stem, excited to finally have the missing piece of the puzzle. This is the miracle that will bridge the horizons. Upon taking the mutated flower out of the beam of light, Mr. Gyuyo's clothes randomly evaporated, exposing his chiseled body. He built different, for real. Without any hint of hesitation, he stabbed the hardened stem right into his stomach. The radiance of the flower quickly flowed right into his solar plexus. Every nerve, vein, capillary, and artery in his body was filled with infinite power. After his guttural roars of agony faded, he was left groveling on the ground. That's when Aji Dahaka finally arrives to punish whoever disturbed his slumber. He asked the foolish mortal if he even knew the consequences of taking the inverted scale. The evil incarnate demanded to know the naked bastard's name. Gyuyo just smiled like a real chill guy. A swirling power enveloped him in a cocoon, and once he emerged, his wings lit up the dark field. With 6 wings, a disgustingly monstrous face, sharp talons, and an eye that sees all, Mr. Gyuyo introduced himself as the Wings Incarnate. When Ananta managed to open his eyes and make sense of the situation, he saw a big-ass dragon fighting against a weird-ass angelic bird. Aji Dahaka can feel the multiple treasures that have been absorbed into Gyuyo's body. He thought that it was impossible for an ordinary incarnate to withstand so much power, but he thought wrong. The flame of anger inside the black dragon's heart was stoked as he imagined what this bird did to the owners of the treasures he absorbed. Gyuyo honestly answered that he simply killed 5 out of the 6 original incarnates and stole their treasures. Tonight he intends to finish the job and kill the last one. He flapped his wings, and his feathers shot out like a hail of bullets. Aji Dahaka simply used his scaled wings to defend against such a simple attack. Without the treasure of the gods, this ugly bird is pathetically weak. Gyuyo was unfazed by the trash talk from the last remnant of the Age of Gods, for he's determined to tame the dragon right here and right now. Azidahaka dared him to try it while blasting a pillar of scorching flames into the skies. Gyuyo easily maneuvered out of the way. His 6 wings were not just for show. Since he wants an aerial battle, the evil incarnate joins him in the skies. It has turned into a cat-and-mouse game. Only if the cat and the mouse were a dragon and a thieving, biblically accurate angel. They continued to rise in altitude with the black dragon hot in Gyuyo's heels. As they rose even higher, Azidahaka conjured multiple fire spells around his body, all of them homing on the thief. The dark flames shot out fast and strong, like nuclear bombs with untold power. Gyuyo focused his power on the singular eye in his chest and chanted, "Let there be light." Bro is trying so hard to be God. As pretentious as it was, the light effectively neutralized the dark flames in one fell swoop. Since his flames didn't do any damage, the dark dragon summoned the power of darkness. It was so menacing that it changed the art style. He slashed with his wings, and the dark hail of blades rushed to tear Gyuyo apart. But the wings incarnate simply grinned at such a mediocre attack. He countered with a hail of blades of his own, each one made of light itself. Gyuyo flexed his terrifying control and power by accurately pinpointing each dark blade and bursting it with his own. Each of the light blades continued their momentum, eager to pierce the dragon's body. Once they converged and skewered the evil incarnate, a massive and bright explosion lit up the night sky for as far as the eye could see. The villagers could only watch as their god got bodied by the random foreigner they took in a week ago. Meanwhile, armless Anata struggled to get back on his feet. He tried his best to catch his breath, but taking in air to his lungs felt unbearable. Even in such agony, all he worries about is his sister. Finally, the last of the first 6 incarnates had fallen. His once mighty figure has become disheveled and riddled with damage. Gyuyo, on the other hand, looks like he can go for another god-level battle and be fine. He smugly smiled after destroying the dragon's heart and defeating the final boss. He deserves to be a little smug. His infuriating snicker is pushing it, though. Finally, after all the hard work he had put in, he had all the tools to rise to the heavens. And so, Mr. Gyuyo, the wings incarnate rose to the clouds and never stopped. Ananta looked at the consequences of his foolish actions, fearful and devastated. He thought he was just trying to help his sister, but he ended up creating a peerless deity. With Azidahaka's dying breath, he called on the child and asked if he helped in bringing ruin to everything. Ananta trembled under the gaze of the dying dragon as he apologized for his foolishness. As an evil god writhing at death's door, Azidahaka has no mind to forgive the child's foolish actions at all, and so he bestowed a curse on poor Ananta. A curse that came at the cost of the evil incarnate's physical body, letting his flesh rot away in darkness just to spite a kid. The remaining power in his gigantic frame sizzled and bubbled up. Azidahaka's remaining spiritual force took the form of pure darkness and ferocity. The body that has been deemed too tough to pierce is ripped apart to make way for the Avatar's escape. Ananta stared at the perverse wailing of the evil god, his little mind barely comprehending the horrific scene. Fueled by unfathomable hatred, the dragon's spiritual force took the skies once more. He visibly burned through his dwindling spiritual force every second, but he had one last petty agenda to do. Once Ananta realized where the monster was heading, he felt dread crawling up his spine. This goddamn dragon is heading towards the village. Looking like a physical representation of hell itself, Azidahaka reached his destination in the blink of an eye. He saw the ancestors of the men and women that worshipped him for generations, and did not even hesitate to burn them all down to ashes. The screams of agony from being burned alive filled the air. Ashta, Ananta's caring and affectionate older sister, was one of the unfortunate victims. The whole village has been annihilated in just one flyby. Ananta cried and cried. He lost his arms, and now he has lost everything else too. But the evil incarnate is not done with him just yet. Before completely dissipating into nothingness, Azidahaka finished the curse on the boy. He slammed his spiritual body right into Ananta's fragile little armless frame. He entered every orifice, invading the boy's body and slowly reconstructing his severed limbs. His veins were strengthened and filled with the power of a dragon. His heart pumped and circulated pure darkness throughout his whole body, and his physical form transformed into that of an incomprehensible monster made of hatred. Ananta's figure shifted and mutated, his bones crunched and expanded, and his flesh bubbled and ballooned. With this integration, the foolish mortal shall forever wallow in a mire of death and calamity. The kid has turned into a full-blown vessel of the dark dragon's remaining power. Thus, the years roll forward, unveiling Ananta's warpath, a relentless march of vengeance forged in blood, darkness, and fury. A fierce beast once told a valiant warrior that without fangs in his mouth and claws in his hands, his greatest weapon would be something else. In this draconic beast case, his anger and tenacity are his weapons. He went through a pack of wolves like they were cannon fodder to be ground down to paste. From his blood and sweat, his flesh and bones, he swallows the corpses of his enemies. Targeting the alpha of the pack, the beast ruthlessly bit a chunk of neck meat. With superior force, he ripped it apart, making the blood and gore burst out. With the wail of a dragon's rage, he shall kill and kill. In this world, beasts possessing mysterious powers are dubbed as mystics. The few mystics that were made in the form of humans, molded by the gods, were called the incarnates. Most of them helped humanity in their own ways, but there were those who became drunk on their own power. They were thusly dubbed as evil deities. In some random creepy forest, a group of raiders hunts down their remaining prey. They laughed and joked around while slaughtering civilians. With the blood of the innocent still dripping from their blades, they took all the valuables worth selling before heading back to their hideout. They jested that the monster of the woods might be watching. When they saw all the dead wild beasts strewn around the area, they realized that their jokes might not be far from reality. At first glance, it seems like a territorial fight, but it looks more like a massacre. And among the corpses was a man leaning against the remains of a dead mystic. The raiders immediately dismissed the idea that a single man slaughtered all these beasts. Just when they were about to look for loot, a familiar lizard stepped in to bite on a raider's ankles. Before they can get rid of the little critter, the mysterious man awakens. He unleashed a vicious punch that knocked out one of the scumbags. He boldly declared that anyone who dares to lay a finger on his pet will meet their bloody end. Still clueless as to what they were in for, the raiders drew their weapons and turned them to our boy, Ananta. A few years have passed, and he has grown into a bloodthirsty warrior. He warned the raiders that if they still want to see their loved ones, they better leave now. You see, sleep doesn't come easily to him after hacking anything other than animals. But he won't hesitate either. Not listening to his warnings, the raiders surrounded and charged at him. With his trusty axe, Ananta ripped through the battalion of hardened raiders, painting the ground with their blood and innards. Recognizing his threat level, the crossbowmen maintained their distance and locked their weapons on him. As soon as they fired, Ananta took his lizard pet into his arms and shielded the little critter using his body. If he was a normal human, the damage from the arrows would have been enough to kill him. But he is far from normal. Ananta's demon screeched with an unholy sound as the power of the black dragon was released. After all these years, the spirit of Ajidahaka had completely melded into his body. The evil deity took over, amplifying his power and ruthlessness to an insane level. But Ananta fought through it and stopped the transformation halfway through, dispelling the dark energy. He plopped to the ground and gritted his teeth through the pain. In the end, he was taken alive and was brought to the raider village. The village boss couldn't believe that a lone man could possibly take down such a powerful wolf mystic. While tied up in a post, he warned his captors that they should burn the mystic corpse as soon as possible. When asked why he fought and killed the beast, Ananta simply answered that he was hungry. The raiders who captured him are still wary of the transformation they saw with their own eyes earlier. Their fear is reinforced by the recent rumors of an evil deity that eats dead bodies around the area. But all the boss can see is a human. A human can't possibly leave such a massive and gnarly bite mark on the wolf mystic. That means this Ananta guy is an evil deity in disguise. Hearing their remarks, he scoffed and laughed at their cluelessness. He finds it ridiculous that these lowlives think they are safe inside their flimsy wooden walls. They were stupid enough to tie up an evil deity that eats mystics in mere chains. These dumbass raiders can't even restrain him properly. The unsettling atmosphere was worsened by the stench of dripping putrid blood. The corpse of the wolf mystic has broken free and chomped down on one of the raiders. Ananta had already tried to warn them that it was no ordinary corpse. It's a mystic who has become a servant to another evil deity. In other words, an abomination. The warning bells of the village sounded out, warning the raiders of the emergency. The wolves hiding in the woods have come to rally with the corpse of their leader for a coordinated evil deity attack. Behind them was the silhouette of the horned culprit orchestrating the assault. It's a rotten evil deity that emanates the aura of death. With its directive, the wolves worked together to climb over the walls one by one. Once inside, they took the raiders by surprise. These humans were no match against the relentless charge of the beasts. They had to resort to using fire as a means to stop the downpour of wolves inside the village, burning the walls that protect them in the process. While most of the wolves burn to a crisp, Ananta readies himself for the real fight. His bones crunched and expanded. He beckons to his hunger and thirst to spew and rage. With blood and sweat, flesh and bone, Ananta transformed into the black dragon. His sights have been set on the evil deity, the root cause of it all. He vowed to open his jaws wide and devour it all. Ananta is not fucking around. He faced off against the evil deity and threatened to disfigure the bastard once and for all. After he is done, the deity's face shall embody the terror of a prey facing death. As a response, the deity lets out a horrifically shrill roar. From the woods, the rest of the beasts under the deity's control came rushing in. Boars, wolves, elks, goats, and stags poured in, setting their sights on the black dragon. As soon as they got inside Ananta's kill range, they were crushed into meat paste. With his empowered dragon claws, Ananta lunged forward, shredding through the beast-tide like paper. As he gets closer to the mastermind, the deity uses its dark magic, infirmity becomes you. Its body crackled and morphed, becoming bigger and sturdier for combat. And so, the two powerhouses clashed. Ananta did not bother wasting energy on defense. As soon as he got close, it devolved into a full-on bloody brawl. With his claws, he slashed and stabbed away at the deity's body. The enemy kept up with his ferocity, responding with vicious slashes of its own. That gave the black dragon an opening to exploit. He grabbed the deity's limb, catching it off guard. He cocked his fist, charging it with the power of the evil incarnate, and sent the deity flying with a malicious uppercut. After sending the bastard flying, Ananta relentlessly chased, chaining another combo, refusing to let up. After maiming the deity beyond recognition, he slowly dispelled his transformation, gradually turning back to his human form. It looks like the fight ended in a completely one-sided manner. Surprisingly, beneath the fearsome form of the evil deity was a young woman with white hair. Ananta grabbed the girl by the neck, yanking her out of the gore. Based on the empty look in her eyes, it seems like she's been moving unconsciously the whole time. Ananta's single moment of hesitation left him open for a sneak attack for a split second. A giant crow came down from the skies, launching sharp feathers. It finally makes sense. The girl was just another victim. The evil deity that had been eating corpses was this giant crow all along. The murder bird's body cracked and shrunk, revealing an old man dripped out with the aura of death. He was quite impressed that Ananta managed to defeat his best puppet. He has been watching the young man since he wandered into this land, curious as to what he seeks. Ananta is not a fan of useless and long-winded drivel. He tossed the girl to the crow, ready to throw hands at any moment. He has no interest in the inane mumblings of beasts. He taunted the crow to come at him, and he'll be happy to end the bird's miserable life. Birdman's power is the ability to control the dead. The idea of killing and taking control of the black dragon's corpse to make a much more formidable puppet than the deer is endlessly appealing to him. Casting infirmity becomes you. The dead wolves, and the plethora of beast corpses in the vicinity, regained the fire of life. Even the dead raiders stood up no matter how badly their bodies were maimed. Ananta has been surrounded at every angle. He is on track to be swallowed in the sea of bloody corpses controlled by the crow. The wolves bit on his flesh, arrows burrowed into his skin, blades stabbed into his frame, and the corpses bulldozed him in every way they could. Seeing Ananta's blood flow freely, the crow laughed and mockingly asked if that was all he had. With his sharp talons, he delivered the killing blow with a supersonic stab. All that's left is the final cry of agony before he finally croaks. Instead of an agonized scream, Ananta's mouth curled into a twisted grin and an amused laugh. The power of Ajidahaka enveloped his body once more, erasing his grievous injuries immediately. His aura overpowered the stench of death, thwarting the crow completely. One look at the black dragon's form up close plunged the crow into the depths of horror he never experienced before. Ananta likes giving his enemies a little bit of hope before he goes sicko mode. Now, he wants to hear this bird croak and howl like the foul beast that he is. Beckoning the power of the evil incarnate, he chomped down and crushed the crow with his fangs. It was a complete and utter mismatch of raw power. With the godlike powers of the black dragon, the crow might as well be a normal chicken dinner. And so, his soul was consumed and incorporated into the sea of countless beasts that Ananta had devoured over the years. While he was mercilessly feeding on the mastermind behind the anomalies in the woods, the woman woke up to the sight of horrors beyond human comprehension. She saw the young man's incorporeal dragon form looking back at her, and a primal fear was instilled in her heart. Stepping away from the hellish scene, Ananta walked towards the girl, making her flinch in terror. He outrightly asked if she had been freed from the evil deity's control. Her head throbbed in pain as memories of a radiant being with 6 wings flashed in her mind. As soon as she mentioned those brightly shining wings, Ananta's eyes flared with fury. He reckoned that she might be another victim of the wings. Ananta introduced himself as the only surviving descendant of the Black Dragon, the one who will devour all evil deities in this cursed plane and kill the wings incarnate. When the sun came up, the only survivors of the massacre were the girl, Ananta, and his lizard. Still reeling from the shock of being brainwashed, the girl could not understand anything about his proclamation at all. She has no clue what the Black Dragon or the wings incarnate are. When she tried to remember by digging deep into her subconscious, a jolt in her brain knocked the girl unconscious. It's a hassle, but she might be somewhat useful for Ananta's mission. While she passed out, the nightmare of being endlessly chased by the deer deity kept on replaying in her mind. She slipped on the blood of her victims, staining her body with her sins. The men and beasts that she devoured while having no control over her actions haunted her psyche. And above all of it is the wings incarnate, the sole source of light